Hi, my name is Marc Vidal, and I live in Brooklyn, New York. I don't like it much, no. I got it when I first came to New York. That was around 1996. Then I came back 1997, and then finally 1999 I came back and stayed that time. And that I got because I started beating some local players in the New York and New Jersey area, and since I couldn't speak a word of English, uh, people will just say, "Oh, that guy won that tournament or beat that guy." And when people ask, "Who and who's this new kid? Who's this new guy that beat that other guy?" Then they will say, "Oh, this guy from Spain. This guy from Spain." And then a lot of people will just say, "Oh, it was that guy from Spain. That guy from Spain beat that other guy." And everybody was saying, "The guy from Spain, the guy from Spain." And then eventually, everybody for some reason started calling me Spain, and that's how it stick. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's pretty much how it was. Yeah. I was born in Barcelona, Spain, 1976. I'm 33 years old. Well, most of my adult life I lived in the States, but for what I remember, I lived there until I was 23. I had a regular life. Uh, I don't know, middle class, I will say. My family is like middle class. I never, I was never poor or anything like that, and just regular family, and it's a beautiful country. Okay, well, since I've been in different continents, in different countries, I have to say the food is really good in Spain. The food in general, the main dishes, the restaurants, the bars, all the tapas, all the specialties of Spanish food or Spanish cuisine is really good, and it's something that I miss when I'm away from Spain. Yeah. I've been to a couple that were pretty close to what the food is like in Spain, but never quite the same. It's hardly ever the same in other countries. They will say the same thing. It's hard to find that restaurant that it really reminds you or makes you feel like you're in Spain. I believe so. I believe so. And the cooks are guys. I mean, sometimes international cooks and even Spanish cooks come to United States, and then I mean, if you guaranteeing that cook knows what he's doing, it's gonna be a good restaurant. But a lot of times, I think it has to do with the products. You just cannot get the food as fresh, all the ingredients as fresh and as traditional as you could get them in Spain. I dropped out of high school when I was 18 years old, and the main reason why I did that is because I started playing pool, and it got to be what my mother will call an obsession, and like I will need to play for 8, 10 hours a day, and I will not go to class. I will leave early in the morning, and my mom thought I was going to school, to high school, but I was not going to high school. I was going to a pool room because a pool room opened 2 blocks from where I live, and then I will stay there until late at night every day. And then eventually, after 2 months doing that, the school called my mom and asked them about me, and they thought I was dead or something. And my mom said no, and then they told my mom that they didn't see me for 2 months, and then my dad hit me with a guitar in my head. That's a story, true story. broke the guitar, not in my head, but he broke it on my body. Yeah, he did. Yeah. So then I said, well, now I'm really not finishing high school, and that's the story. When I was in high school, I used to play guitar, electric, acoustic, and classical. My aunt was pretty good in classical guitar, and she taught me a little bit, the accords and the basics of guitar playing, and yeah, and I picked it up pretty quick, and I was singing too. I was the lead singer of a band, rock band in Spain. I used to sing songs of Guns N' Roses and all that, even though I couldn't speak English, but yeah. No, no, that was actually the second only pool room in Barcelona that had regulation pool tables, and since then there is a few more pool rooms, but mainly pool it's playing on bars, and there's a lot of leagues and all that. Now, I haven't been there in a few years, but it's getting better, and it's getting more like other European countries where they have bigger tables in more places, more big pool rooms, and there's tours, and the best players get to qualify for world championships, and it's getting better. But it always had a lot of players. It's just that the main tournaments, even the major events in Spain, were always play on 7-foot tables, or most of the times were play on 7-foot tables, and it used to be 8 ball and not 9 ball. Three cushion always been bigger than pool. Yes, three cushion it's much bigger than pool. The only thing is not like three cushion players can make a lot of money. That's why it never attracted me all that much. But three cushion was big. Snooker, there is no snooker whatsoever in Spain. I mean, nobody plays snooker. There is a few tables. There might be 30 in the whole country, but there is no people playing snooker. Well, Spanish people, we're very of our own. It's not that we hate it, just that we're very about ourselves. And every time English foreigners from England or even French come to Spain, I mean, we're always very, I don't know. I mean, we're open and we're kind to everybody, but we're very about ourselves. And since now it's changing, but 15 years ago, it was not common that Spaniards will go and travel around. We will always stay home, and this is why there isn't that many international Spanish players around the world. They don't like traveling all that much. They like living in Spain and staying in Spain. I was 18 years old. Yeah, it was my last year in high school, I believe. Yeah, I think that was 1994 or by the end of 1993. Yeah. No, I had a distant cousin that I knew that she lived in Manhattan, and it's not that I came because she was here. I came by myself when I was 19. That was the first time I came to New York, and I got to see her once, but that was it. And the thing is that there were some Spanish champions that were here before, and they told me about this pool hall called Chelsea Billiards, and they said there were a lot of good players there, and that's where everything that was big in pool in the U.S. was happening at the time, and I wanted to see the place, I wanted to see the city, and that was the reason why I came the first time. As soon as I got in Manhattan, even before I went to check in, I remember I stayed in YMCA in 23rd Street, and even before I didn't even go there first to drop my luggage. I went straight with my luggage to Chelsea Billiards as soon as the bus from JFK dropped me, and And I remember this story. This Spanish player, Spanish champion, told me, okay, the first thing you're gonna see when you walk in Chelsea Villas, you're gonna see an old man, and he's gonna come to you and he's gonna ask you to play, and you have to say yes. And if you can't beat him, you can't beat anybody. this is what the Spanish champions told me. So that was a lot of pressure for me. That was a big challenge for me. So I said, let me play the guy, and I burned down, and it took me 5 hours, but I beat him playing $20 sets raised to 5. I beat him for $100, and the old man was going crazy, doing his grima thing, his sword thing, and crying and all that. But that was the test, and I passed the test, and then I said, well, I know I can do okay in New York. It was pretty hard, yeah. Yeah, I live in the streets a couple of times. I mean, I slept in the streets a couple of times, and yeah, I went through some hard times. Like I had no place to stay more than 30 times in New York City. In the beginning, it was hard. It was hard for me to learn how to speak English and communicate and to understand how things work. And the only family relatives that I had were not willing to help me all that much for some reason, because they weren't getting along with part of some family that I have in Spain, and it was hard. Yeah, it was hard. But I was very determined to stay. So even though sometimes the cold will get on my brain when I slept sometimes in pool halls or even outside in a square, sometimes even in the winter I did that sometimes. It was hard, but I was determined to stay and make my situation better, and I did, thank God. Well, from New York, I ended up living in Connecticut, where this guy named Ralph, he used to own a legendary action pool room called Chicago Billiards. He helped me out a lot, and I ended up working for him in a bread company that he used to own, driving a truck, and then I worked in his pool room in Chicago Billiards, and from there I met a lot of people. And when I was living in Connecticut, I would travel to New York a lot still, and I maintained some connections in New York. Flaco Rodriguez is a good friend of mine. He gave me a lot of tips, and he helped me out in stuff, always told me about tournaments and all that. And then when the internet came and AZ Billiards and all that, it was just easy to just go online and find out where all the tournaments are and all that. So it has to be William Finnegan's production for sure. I think I'm pretty sure the first tournaments that I played, William Finnegan was a tournament director. Yes, and I believe those were handicap events. I mean, it all started at Golden Q. At that time, he was not the tournament director yet, but I remember playing. Those were my first tournaments were in Golden Q. Maybe I played once in some weekly that Chelsea Village used to have, but that was a long time ago. But the first real ones were at Golden Q. Then Spin City followed, and then when Golden Q closed, everybody went to Masters and all that. So. The first very good player that I saw was uh, Ginky, George Susi. That was 1996, and I used to watch him practice on table 25 in Chelsea Billiards. That was the first player that that caught my attention. Then Frankie Hernandez, Tony Flaco Rodriguez, and then when I went to Connecticut, Billy the Kid was one of the players, and then it was Jack Altamore, a very strong player, and then there was some John Fernandez and some other Portuguese players that used to play in the Connecticut area, and then from there I got to meet Santos Sambajon, and some Filipinos will go to a famous action pool room in Bristol, Connecticut, and I got to see pretty much all the Filipinos at that time. Then I started playing the Josh tournaments, and all that. But yeah, Ginky, and Chuck Altamore and Ginky were two of the players that I got my attention at first. That I really thought they were like very good players. Okay, yeah, there were a few. Marc Villaplana, this guy Pablo Diaz, and especially Danny Sanchez, who's a three cushion world champion. Those were the players that I got influenced the most in the beginning. Daniel Sanchez gave me very good tips when I started playing pool. That's in Spain. And then in the United States, Gink is giving me some good tips about practice and drills and some mental stuff. And I, I think I learned a lot watching Rob Size. I think we have similar styles, and I really like his style of playing. Jason Kirkwood, I learned a lot too. His cue ball, how he moves the cue ball, how he breaks the balls, how he plays safety, how he banks. And Dennis Orkoyo too is one of the players that I've seen recently that I picked up stuff. Mika Imanen as well. Mika gave me a lot of good advice too. He's a great person, good friend too. I know a lot of top pros. I don't know them all that well, but because pretty much I only see them in tournaments, and it's hard to to keep them as friends outside of pool, and I think that happens to a lot of them. But I mean, one of the closest one I will have to say is Mika, and I don't know, I'm pretty good friends with Stevie Moore and with a whole bunch of others, but nobody like very close. The closest friends I have are from Brooklyn. It's Rob and Sammy, the owners of Skyline Billiards Club, which is my sole sponsor at the moment, and I have a few other friends in that pool hall. They they're not like very good players, not all of them, but they like pool and. But my social life, it's something that I'm trying to improve lately because I can remember last time somebody called me and said, "Hey, Mark, let's go have a beer in this bar, or let's go out to this place, to the movies, or go to this show or whatever." I don't have friends like that, or not all that many, or they're too busy working, or I'm too busy playing pool, which I am. But yeah, I like that. Yeah, I don't have all that many friends outside of pool. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it bothers me to some extent. Yeah, it bothers me that because I didn't used to be like that in my own country. It was I have a lot of friends in Spain. A lot of them like to play pool, but some others they're not in the pool world at all, and those are the friends that I consider like my friends and the friends that will call me and want to hang out and wanted to go and do something just because they're friends of mine, and it doesn't have to be pool related. And it just every day I'm in the pool room, and that's what I've been doing for a long time. And it bothers me a little bit because I'm getting a little burned out of doing always the same. When I want to go to the movies, or when I want to do something outside of pool, I really don't have anybody to go and do that. And sometimes it's hard. Like I think I live a very lonely life. I live in my own apartment, in my own place, and I don't live with nobody. I don't have a girlfriend at the moment, so I'm pretty much living by myself and doing everything by myself. But at this point, I'm just trying to win a big tournament, a big event. That's my goal. Uh, yeah, that's my goal. Just winning a big event. I wanna for myself. I wanna see if I'm capable. If my game is mature enough already, or if I have learned enough already to be able to go to a major event with all the big names on it and win it. That's what my goal is. After that, after that, if this day ever comes, I'm gonna maybe slow down and think about other things outside of pool. But for now, this is my goal. I want to win that big tournament. That's my goal. I think so, probably, yeah. Yeah. No. The last time I was there, that was almost 6 years ago. I won the last tournament of the season last year, and I had high finishes before then. And this year I took second twice, I believe. I like to live in between Spain, Asia, and United States. That's what I like to do. If I could do it, I will be living 3 months in every country probably. Yeah, because I like traveling. I like the Asian culture a lot and how they live there, and especially how serious they take pool. You know. But for now, it's what I have to do. For now, I have to stay in New York for. I think the reason why they're so good is because that's all what they've been doing for many years. But I don't see all that. I don't know. Sometimes they talk about them like they have this special ability, like you have to have it in the blood. Well, their blood is Spanish, and the other half I think it's Asian. By I think that's what it is, and but I think everybody's the same. I mean, I don't see special talents like inborn talents in their games or anything. They just play a little more than U.S. players, than a lot of times than European players. They just play the game more, especially now that it's getting like really big in Asia. But I remember I play a lot of Filipinos when I used to live in Tokyo, and they dog it just as bad as anybody can dog it when you put the pressure on them. I mean, when you cut them, they bleed like everybody. Well, of course, in a major tournament, it's a little different than weekly or handicap events. I mean, not only that they're gonna try harder, but the pressure is different, of course. I mean, it has to do with the pressure, I think, and the stamina. I mean, their whole body and everything is focused on those events. In these weekly tournaments, I've seen and I lost myself with deep players at time, and I didn't even had to be spotting that deep player. Sometimes I lose even up on a race to four, on a race to five with people I will never lose to on a race to nine in a major event. It just it's just a different setup, different set of mind. I try to always play the same, no matter where I am. But it's always a little different. I mean, I wish I had the willpower to always, like, really always play the same. That way, maybe when I'm playing a weak player in a weekly event, either in Skyline Billiards or at Master, which is where I usually play the weekly tournaments, right? I I wish I play that safety against that weak player that I don't play and go for a bank because I don't see him. That I don't see that if I miss the bank, it's gonna cost me 3 games like it would in a major event. But in the measure that I can, and I mean, of course, we're all human, and depending on the mood, sometimes I'm gonna play more serious, and I'm gonna play more tight than some other times. Sometimes I go to a major event though, and I play loose too, because I try to loosen up. I have a pretty aggressive game, and I don't like much playing safety, and I'm always looking for that rhythm and that so I can start putting rocks together, because it's just my style of play, and that's how I beat a lot of good players sometimes in big and in small events and in pro AM events. That's how I beat them. That was a friend of mine, Greg McAndrews from Brooklyn, sold me a Michael Bender custom cue, a very old one, a very good piece, for a very good price, for $800, and that's the cue I've been playing for the last year and a half now. So he gave me a good price, and he let me pay him in installments, because I didn't even have 800. I hardly ever have 800 in my pocket, and my brake cue is borrowed, and it's cracked from the bottom, and I think it's one of those action house cues, and I have a borrowed jump cue too. I say it proudly because I mean, not proudly, I'm not proud of it, but to give people, whoever cares for this interview, an idea of how frustrating and sad sometimes is to be a pool player, and always having a few hundred in your pocket. That's how, like me, there is a lot of people in the United States that are like me, that it's we always grinding it out and all that. But yeah, these are my cues. I do what I can with them. A lot of times, yeah, almost every week. No, I'm honest. Always every week I go to that weekly, and I lose to, you know, some girls sometimes, or some very weird players, and then I'm thinking, okay, and next week is Turning Stone, and I couldn't even beat that girl Tuesday night, and next week I'm going to Turning Stone. Why are you going to Turning Stone for? You can make a ball. Yeah, low. What do you call that? Low points. Yeah, I had a few, and a million times I've been ready to quit and all that, but I don't know. Lately, I've been realizing though that it's hard to go against what you are. And I'm old enough, and I've been playing this game long enough, and I came to the conclusion that's what I am, and that's what I do, and every day. I wake up a little before noon, and I go to practice, and it's almost like a job. It really is. I go and practice 3-4 hours, and then in the evening I'm always playing either a tournament or matching up with somebody, and I'm always playing pool. And at the end of the day, I'm playing pool 6-8 hours a day every day, and that's what I do. And that's I'm only a semi-pro or a shortstop. I never know exactly the definition of shortstop. But sounds good, and I think that's where I am, like right below pro level, right? And I'm trying to get my game a little consistent enough, so one day maybe I can be a professional player, and I'll have as little hundreds in my pocket as a shortstop, because if you look at the money. I think the 30th professional pool player in the AZ Billiards list makes 20,000, or I think it's less. If you put male earnings from the professional players, I think it might be like 14,000, and my earnings are 6,000 this year. So, and that's the 30th best player in the U.S. That's what he makes. So it's pretty sad. When you look at these numbers, it's pretty sad. So. Yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah, yeah. I don't get to play money games that I would really like to play all that often, because for some reason, I guess for the economy stuff and all that, it's just hard to get to play good players in the U.S. unless you have this person behind you willing to stake you, And especially New York City, it's something that is went down a lot. I mean, every time you want to play a good player, and in New York, there's very few nowadays because a lot of them either they have regular jobs or they don't play all that much anymore. Like in the case of Frank Hernandez, he used to play a lot for money and all that, and now you can hardly ever see him in the pool room in the first place. But you know, I like matching up, and I've been playing a lot of three cushion because I get a little more action than in pool lately, and I like playing for money. Yeah. I just hate that the pool rooms in New York are so loud. I would like the pool halls to be like when you go to a library. That's how it is in Asia. When I lived in Tokyo, I mean, a lot of the players that I see in New York City area will not even be allowed in those pool rooms because they're so loud. Even when they talk, I'm not even talking when they're negotiating a game and I'm talking about Brooklyn and I'm talking about Queens too. I mean, people is just very loud in New York. They out of nowhere, sometimes playing for nothing or not even negotiating for a game. They're screaming and yelling, and sometimes you are playing for a little something and you try to focus and it's hard. I remember I used to focus and be able to focus on what I was doing and really get in the zone back in Spain a lot easier than I can here, or even in Japan. I used to get in the zone a lot more because I don't see anybody yelling and screaming or somebody on the mic or uh, it just it's hard in in New York to focus because people just talks too loud. And I think that's something that the pool room owners should be aware of, and it's their job to make people not not talk that loud. Yeah, yeah. No, but you're right. Out of all the action pool rooms, I will have to say Amsterdam is one of the most quiet, unless you go there on a league night or like on a Friday night. But yeah, thank you.